Self-confidence and self-worth are completely different. We so easily confuse the two, and understanding the difference is literally the one thing that will change everything in your life. There are so many of us, myself included, who have actually done so much great work to build self-confidence. But then we sabotage things, we stay stuck, we don't get what we want because we don't realize, oh, I have a whole lot of self-confidence, but I actually don't have strong self-worth. And they're very different. They're very, very different. So self-worth is truly the one thing that can change everything in your life. In your life, your relationships, your goals, your dreams, your ambitions, your amount of joy and fulfillment. So in Worthy, which is all about, how to believe you're enough and transform your life, there's simple steps that give life-changing results. There is an entire chapter called The One Thing That Changes Everything. And I break down, and I'm going to share right now in this video as well, but I go deep in here on breaking down the difference between self-confidence and self-worth. Both are important, but so many of us literally live our entire lives just building self-confidence. And then we never realize, why don't we feel like we're enough? We keep accomplishing more and more and more, and we finally do enough and have enough and become enough and all that, but we still don't feel like we're enough. It's because of not understanding the difference, and it's because of doing all the things that build self-confidence, but none of the things that build self-worth. So let me just break this down for a minute, because this is so important, okay? Self-confidence, while an internal trait, is actually based on so much happening around you externally, and it fluctuates all the time. Self-confidence, while an internal trait, is based on so much externally. So your self-confidence right now is based on things like your own assessment of your skills and abilities, your willingness to try and go for it. If you keep the promises you make to yourself, how you feel you stack up or compare to others, how much of the world's definition of success you believe you have. All those things impact your self-confidence. It can rise and fall quickly based on if you're winning or losing, right? There's studies that show the boxer who wins the match is automatically 30% more confident, right? Your confidence fluctuates. It's fragile. It's volatile. Your self-worth is the deep internal belief in knowing that you are worthy of love and belonging exactly as you are. Not as you achieve, not as what's happening all around you in the outside world, but knowing you are worthy of love and belonging exactly as you are. Another way to put this is self-confidence is your belief in your abilities as a person. Self-worth is your belief in your value as a person. Your self-worth is the foundation. Your self-confidence is the house you build upon it. But you'll only ever be as strong as the foundation that house is built upon. And here's what this looks like in our lives, right? So many of us, let me just ask you this question right off the top. Have you ever had something you really wanted, and you thought, if I eventually get that thing, then I'll be happy. Then I'll be fulfilled. Then I'll feel enough. Maybe it is a job title, or it's a certain number in the bank account, or it's, 6-pack abs, a certain goal weight. Maybe it is, running the triathlon or doing the triathlon. Maybe it's getting the white picket fence, or getting married, or, falling in love, or having 2.5 kids. Have you ever wanted that thing and just thought, one day when I get that, then I'll finally feel happy and fulfilled? And then, for so many of us, we've had those things and then we get the thing, right? For some of us, we work really, really hard for years and we finally get the thing. And let me ask you this, when you finally got the thing, then what happened? Were all your hopes and dreams did they miraculously happen? Were you happy and fulfilled and enough forever? Or did you feel this temporary high followed by a slow descent back to feeling like something's missing and like you don't know what's missing, but you just feel like you're not enough and something's missing from your life. Okay, here's why. It's because in the pursuit of all those things, you built a whole lot of self-confidence, but none of those things build self-worth. Self-confidence is really, really important in life, as is growth, always growing in one area or another, as is contributing to something greater than yourself. Those three things are really important, but you multiply all those by your level of self-worth to get your level of ultimate fulfillment in life. Building strong self-worth is truly the one thing that changes everything. It's why I wrote Worthy. There's over 20 tools in here on how to build strong self-worth. Because here's the deal. When you don't, and by the way, there have been so many times in my life where I had so much confidence and I didn't understand why I didn't feel enough, or I didn't understand why I sabotaged an opportunity, or I didn't understand why I stayed stuck and didn't put my art or my ideas or my full expression of my business out there. It's because we will not, over time, we will not perform to the level of our potential. We will plateau at the level of our self-worth. Every time, over time. Every time, over time. It's why you've seen people out there in the world that can achieve everything, have every level of what the world defines success as, fame, fortune, whatever it might be. And they're not happy. And they're not happy, right? Strong self-worth is literally the one thing that changes everything. And if you are wondering if this is an issue in your life, there's really three ways that low self-worth can show up, right? One, if we have really, really, really low self-worth, we'll stay stuck. We'll know we have great ideas or we're deserving of an amazing romantic relationship, but we'll stay stuck in one that's not good for our soul. And we don't realize it's because we don't fully feel we're worthy of a great relationship, right? We'll stay stuck and not go after the thing. We'll stay stuck and not write the first word of our book that we know we're born to write. We'll just stay stuck and never go for the thing because we don't believe we're worthy of it. We don't realize that's what it is, but that's so often what it is. So that's one way, staying stuck, right? Another way is if we have, a little bit more self-worth, maybe low self-worth, we'll actually go for things and then we'll sabotage them. We'll meet a really incredible potential partner and we'll somehow mess it up or put them in the friend zone. We literally sometimes just aren't even attracted to them and we don't know why, even though they're a great person. It's because when deep down inside we have low self-worth, we don't believe we're worthy of it. Or we'll go after a big opportunity and we'll be so confident doing it, and then we'll just somehow sabotage it. And then if you have medium self-worth, but it's not quite high, you'll actually go for things. You'll accomplish them, right? You may even believe you're worthy of them. But if you only have medium level self-worth, you'll arrive at them and still feel like you're not enough. You'll still feel empty inside. There's so many people in marriages or in, incredible situations in their career where they feel like something's missing, like it's not enough. And they don't know what it is. So they think it's their partner or they think it's their job, right? What it is deep down inside, they haven't done the work to build strong, unshakable self-worth. Your self-worth is the one thing that literally changes everything. So step one is to be aware of the difference between self-confidence and self-worth. Your self-worth is your unremitting identity and your belief that you are enough exactly as you are. And by the way, when you learn to believe you're enough exactly as you are, it doesn't prevent you from being ambitious. It actually gives you more ambition because you're not afraid to fail because it doesn't impact your self-worth. You're not afraid to put yourself out there to go for things, even if you fall flat on your face, because that might hurt your confidence for a minute, but it does not determine your self-worth. Your self-worth is deep, it's internal, it's unwavering. It's why I wrote Worthy, because literally when you learn to build your self-worth, there's over 20 tools in here on how to do it. It is the one thing that transforms everything.
I really want to go through the lies that we tell ourselves.
Yes.
So number one, I'd love to start with the need to please them in order for them to love me.
People pleasing is almost always a betrayal to ourselves. we are raised, and so often as girls and women, but when you actually look at the data, over 50% of women believe they're a people pleaser, but over 40% of men do as well. So we are raised to think, oh, I just need to make everyone else happy, and then I'll be loved, right? At our core, we all want love and belonging. And one of the big lies is I need to please everyone else in order to be loved, or in order to be worthy, in order to be enough. And here's the problem with that is so often we spend our lives, trying to please everyone else, but then actually betraying ourselves. And we become disconnected from who we are, right? And so the more we people please for others, when it's incongruent with who we are and what we really feel, the more we tell ourselves that we're actually not worthy of saying what we mean, of being who we are. And it chips away at our self-worth slowly but surely. So it is a huge lie that we tell ourselves that, okay, if I just make everyone else happy, then I'll be happy, then I'll be loved. And it's actually the opposite. And what's beautiful is and I go into Worthy Deep and how to do this, how do you truly learn to, not people please at the expense of betraying yourself. And when you learn to do that, your relationships get stronger, your self-worth rises, right? You're able to have a deeper connection with other people, because when you show up inauthentically, which is a lot of times what people pleasing is, you actually create a barrier of disconnection between yourself and that other person. So we think people pleasing, especially a lot of us as little girls and women were raised to get approval when we make other people happy. But long term, it doesn't feel like love. Long term, it does not. And so a lot of us get disconnected even from who we are, because we're so good at trying to make everyone else happy, but then not knowing even who we are and what we want.
Dude, this is so strong. And I'd love to dig even deeper and say, how do we do that? Because you even said, in that moment, sometimes when you've pleased someone, let's say you're in a relationship and you've really done something that doesn't feel in alignment, but the other person is giving you the accolades. They're telling you how amazing you are for doing this thing that actually doesn't feel good to you. And so it becomes almost like a bit of a downward spiral, or you just double up, right? Because you're like, oh, well, they made me feel good about myself when I did this. I really like the feeling of feeling good with myself, so I'm just going to do it again. But long term, like you said, it actually doesn't align. So how do you start to break that? What are the things that, in fact, let's just take a random Wednesday, Jamie.
Yes.
So random Wednesday, you're a people pleaser. You get your validation from other people, from them applauding you. You wake up on a Wednesday and you've got all these habits, right? Where it's like you're used to, let's say you're a mom, taking care of the kids first, taking maybe care of your partner, maybe going to work, earning the money, coming home. You get into these habitual patterns. So how do you actually even start to break that?
The very first thing is to start asking yourself, how does this feel to my soul? Because when we do something really great for someone else, it could be a great thing. If I know my husband likes, something, a banana with peanut butter on it or whatever, great. When we do things that are kind for other people, but it feels aligned with our soul, that's great. It's great to text our friends, and uplift them. It's great to do all that. But when you get still and ask yourself, am I doing something that actually is incongruent with how I really feel? That's people pleasing at the expense of betraying yourself. And so often people say, oh, do you want to come over for coffee? Or do you want to do this? Or do you want to do that? Or can you volunteer for this? Or can you donate to this? And we want to say no, but we say yes. And when what we do comes at the expense of our own truth, that's when it can chip away at our self-worth. And a lot of us have learned to do that our whole lives, right? And so that is where it causes problems in your self-worth. That is when it creates barriers of disconnection in relationships. And we all know, and for most of us, we've done this, we've gotten in a relationship, and the stereotypical story you'll see in a movie where the girl just all of a sudden loves this kind of music because her boyfriend's into it. Or she starts dressing a certain way because that's what he wants, right? And in the beginning of a relationship, it might appear to make him happy, but long term, it either never works out or it works out at the expense of her own soul, right? So these things that might make someone else happy in the short term, long term, we're living a lie. We're creating a barrier of disconnection. And so it's so important because we start to believe I need to please them in order to love me. And it is a lie. It is a big lie, right? When we please someone else and then end up not loving ourselves because of it, it literally will lower our self-worth slowly but surely. The very first step is identifying how does this feel and just paying attention. Because for most of us, we become so numb to just saying the thing that makes the other person happy, saying the thing that's not true, but we're not aware of what does that cost us.
How many of us women ignore that intuition, that gut feeling?
Yes.
And
Yes.
so I think that that's so strong in just starting there, because I think sometimes you've been, you have a belief system that no, you are supposed to do or you should do X, Y, and Z.
Right.
And that supposed to and should, I think, is part of what you're saying, where it's like we show up in service of everybody else except for ourselves.
Right.
And I have a quote of yours that really freaking hit me. I want to be loved more than I want to be me.
Mm-hmm. Yes. In Worthy, the book, I share a story about how my mother-in-law is very into eating healthy and is all the things, and I am not so much. And we were at a holiday gathering, and there was broccoli and berries, and then there was these cinnamon rolls. And I kept looking at the cinnamon rolls, and I just felt like if I eat it, she's going to judge me. And I have to go with the broccoli. And I write this whole story about how in that moment, I chose to be what I thought was loved more than I chose to be me. And I talk about how every time we do this, we think that we're going to be loved. We think we're creating approval or connection with the other person when all we're doing is betraying ourselves and creating a barrier of disconnection. Mm-hmm. Here's the thing about relationships is you can only, I don't care how good you are at being a people pleaser, the depth of love and connection you can have with another person can only be as deep as the depth of love and connection you have with yourself. And when you show up people pleasing for everyone else, thinking it's going to result in them loving you, before anything even happens, you start to love yourself less, right? Because you're betraying yourself. And then you're also creating a barrier of disconnection between you and them. And so for a lot of people, and especially women, right? The 50+% of women that say they're people pleasers and they struggle with it all the time. It's scary to think like, well, what if I speak my truth? And what if I offend somebody? Or what if that person doesn't like me? Or what if, right, all of those things. Mm-hmm. And at the end of the day, like every one of us craves love and belonging in our lives for fulfillment. We crave it in our relationships and our friendships, all of it, right? For 25 years of the Oprah Winfrey Show, that at the end of every single show, whether it was President of the United States, which she interviewed many of them, or Beyonce, or a murderer, it didn't matter who was on her show. At the very end, they were like, how was it? Was it okay? Was it okay? And she says that she realized every single person wants to know, like, did you see me? Did you hear me? Did what I say matter to you? And at our core as human beings, every single one of us wants that same thing. We want to know, like, did you see me? Did you hear me? Did what I say matter to you? And here's the problem is when we show up people pleasing and betraying ourselves, we are not showing who we truly are. We're not being seen for who we truly are. We're not saying what we really mean. And so it's impossible to create that ultimate expression of love and connection and humanity if we're showing up as something that's not who we are. When you learn to start one step at a time, right? We could do baby steps here. So for everyone watching and listening, like take this one baby step today of first just hear when you tell somebody something, how did that feel? Did that feel like the truth? Did that feel in my gut, in my soul, like what I really mean? And we are so conditioned just to, please everyone else. But when we start paying attention, we're like, oh, wait a minute. That's not what I mean. I don't want the broccoli. I want the cinnamon roll. You know what I mean? It's like we're, right? And no, I don't want to go to that movie. I want to go to this movie. Like just little things of paying attention to, wait, am I showing up as who I truly am? And then taking that baby step, right? So even today, everyone watching us and listening to us, taking that one step of just doing it once today, just one time, say your truth, even if you know that other person's going to be like, right? Because they're used to hearing what they want to hear. Just do that one thing. And you just take that baby step, one step at a time. And what happens is, yeah, there are going to be some people along the way. Maybe they're not your friends anymore. Maybe they're uncomfortable. Maybe it takes them a while to adjust. But over time, it is how you build a relationship with yourself. It is how you raise your own self-worth. And remember, in life, like, we don't rise to what we believe is possible. We fall to what we believe we're worthy of. And every time we people please someone else as a betrayal to ourselves, we tell ourselves, I am not worthy of saying what I really mean. I'm not worthy of showing up as who I really am, right? And that impacts every aspect of your life. So take that one step today, right? Say what you mean, one step at a time. And over time, you start building your self-worth and you start building that depth of connection and real friendships and real partnerships. Right now, as we're talking, how many people are in a relationship and they just feel like something's missing? And they don't know why. They don't feel the depth of connection that they crave. And it could be a romantic relationship. It could be a friendship. It could be a relationship with your family. But like, I don't understand why we're not so connected. I want that connection. But then when you stop and ask yourself, wait a minute, do I have that connection with myself? Right? And that's where we need to do the work. And slowly but surely, the more that you show up as who you truly are, then you'll see the connection with the people in your life starts to deepen and you start to feel fulfillment and you feel more fulfilled and less like something's missing.
Good. I love that. And that's why I love that story about the broccoli and the cinnamon roll, because it's a little decision. It's a little thing that maybe other people would just brush by and not think twice about. And it's like, well, it's my mother-in-law. I know that she's going to look down on me. If I choose the cinnamon roll, fine, I'll choose the broccoli. Right? And you don't realize, to your point of the disconnection you're having with yourself, but then also to her, because you're being a false version of who you actually are.
Exactly. And so much of the time we think we need to people please someone else and this and that. And it's still a lie we're telling ourselves. I was sitting there thinking my mother-in-law is going to judge me for eating the cinnamon roll. I'm going to eat the broccoli. Meanwhile, how the story kind of wraps up is I'm like, you know what? I decide if I'm going to have an authentic connection with her, I need to show up as who I really am. I eat the cinnamon roll. I'm waiting for her to judge me. And she literally starts talking about the kids and how she could care less that I ate the cinnamon roll. So the whole time I was telling myself a story, projecting my own insecurities onto her, and creating a barrier of disconnection between me and her in the meantime, right? All because I was telling myself a lie that she was judging me. So then I was trying to please her because I wanted connection, realizing when you try to please other people, you just create disconnection.
Yeah, God, that's so freaking strong. And that goes to another lie that you talk about in the book, is that we always think we're going to be enough when. So talk to me about that.
Yeah. I'm gonna get so fired up out of this chair.
Let's go, girl.
Okay, everybody watching and listening right now. Lisa, this is the lie. This is the lie that will take us down our entire life. This is the lie that has us thinking, okay, I just gotta do more. I just gotta achieve more. Then I'll feel enough, right? This is the lie that thinks that tells us because something's missing, it means I'm not yet enough. And oh my gosh, the lie that once I finally get the thing or achieve the thing or do the thing, then I'm enough. It is a perpetual lie that leads literally to nowhere. And so let me just start by asking like this question, right? For everyone who's listening and watching us right now, have you ever had this goal in your life and you thought, when I finally get that goal, then I'm going to be happy. Then I'm going to be fulfilled. Then I'm going to be enough. And for some people, it might be like, when I finally hit the salary level of my job. Or for some people, it might be like, oh, when I finally, get married, or when I finally have the white picket fence, or when I finally have 2.5 kids, or when I finally, get that degree, or when I finally get that dream car, or the 6-pack abs, or that certain fit, whatever it is, when I finally get that thing, like then I'm going to be happy. Then I'm going to be enough. Then I'm going to be worthy. And then what happens for so many of us, right? And everyone think about that thing right now or different examples in your life. But for so many of us, we work so hard. And for some of us, we spend a lot of time and a lot of years. And then what happens? We finally get that thing. We finally get that job title or that number in our bank account or that number on the scale or the six-pack abs, the relationship, and we finally get it. And then what happens? Like, does it, right? And think about this in your own life. Did it solve all your problems? Did it make you happy? Did you finally feel like, yes, I feel fulfilled and I can ride off into the sunset in full fulfillment and bliss? For most of us, the answer is no, right? We arrive at the thing and then we go, okay, and we're happy. And for some of us, we're super happy for maybe a year or a month or a week or a few hours. And then we're right back there to feeling like, okay, that didn't fulfill everything. I still don't feel like I'm enough. So then what do? Right? I still don't feel fulfilled. We think, I've just got to achieve more. I just got to take it to the next level. Then that will be enough. And this becomes a perpetual cycle. So here's the deal. Here's the lie. Here's how I change it. Because this is big. Self-worth is the one thing that changes everything. And when you look at overall fulfillment in life, you always need to be growing, right? And that could be growing in your faith, growing in a hobby, growing in how you show up in the world, growing in your fitness goals, whatever it is. But we always need to be growing. This is for ultimate fulfillment. We always need to be contributing to something beyond ourselves, which could be in the form of some type of service or in the form of being a friend to someone who doesn't have one. It could be in the form of donating. It could be whatever, but always about something bigger than ourselves. So contribution, growth. We always need to be building self-confidence, which is so important. But those three things combined are multiplied by our level of self-worth for ultimate fulfillment. And when I say that in life, we don't become what we want, we become what we believe we're worthy of, self-worth is the foundation to everything. It's truly the foundation. And so many of us are really good at doing all the things that build self-confidence, like getting the job title, getting the marriage, getting the kids, getting the fitness goals, getting the six-pack abs. Self-confidence can fluctuate based on our skills and abilities, if we're winning or losing, if our willingness to try and go for it. Self-confidence, even though it's internal, it's based so much on the external things happening around us. Self-worth is deep, internal, unwavering. It's us believing we are worthy of love and belonging exactly as we are. Not as we achieve, not as our past mistakes and failures, exactly as we are. And self-worth in so many ways is the foundation, and self-confidence is like the house we build upon it, right? Here's the thing. From the moment we are born into our world, and especially those of us in the US or any country that's like super driven, right, by socioeconomic success and all the other things, we are taught that if we achieve the thing, get the thing, then we'll be happy. So we're raised seeing advertisements all around us that tell us when we get the six-pack abs or when we get that dream car or when we hit that number in our bank account, and we continue to think all those things will bring us fulfillment, when really they all bring us a lot of confidence, which is important, right? And when we're doing them and impacting others, they bring us, contribution and we're growing. Those are all important. But if underneath it all, we don't believe we're enough as we are, if underneath it all, we don't have strong self-worth, what that looks like is perpetual unfulfillment the rest of our lives. And there are so many perfectionists right now, probably listening and watching us, so many people that think like, okay, if I just achieve enough, then I'll be enough. If I just get and then they arrive at it and it's not. So then they go for the next thing and then it's still not. And they live their entire lives and arrive at the end of their life with a whole lot of cool things, but never actually feeling fulfillment and always feeling like something's missing. So it is important to do all of these things that build self-confidence, that do all that. It's important. But if you don't learn how to completely build rock solid, unshakable self-worth underneath it all, you will never, no matter how much you achieve, you'll never arrive feeling fulfilled. You'll never be able to fully enjoy it. Here's the other part of this. I have to do all this to be enough, which is a lie I believed most of my entire life. And a big reason, Lisa, that I wrote Worthy is because believing this lie, if I do enough, then I'll be enough. Like believing that, and for me, not understanding the difference between self-confidence and self-worth had me arriving at all these crazy dreams I could have only imagined happening and not understanding, why don't I feel like it's enough? And why don't I feel like I'm enough, right? And just to share a couple examples, I remember building at cosmetics and years and years and years of rejections, finally building it to a company with over 1,000 employees, right? Selling it to L'Oreal for over $1 billion cash. I got to that moment where I thought, this is it. I had sold my company for all this money and was on in Forbes and all the magazines, all these things. And I had so much self-confidence. And I got invited to Oprah's house for lunch. And I was like, this is my lifelong dream. And I went to her house. We had a 3-hour lunch, just me and her. At the end of the lunch, Lisa, she gave me her cell phone number. And she said, call me anytime. You can call me anytime. I'm like, okay, like, freaking out, right? And now I had a lot of self-confidence. Everything on the outside was going so well. But what I didn't know is that is very different than self-worth. And even though a lot was going well, underneath it all, I didn't fully feel worthy. And so here's what happened. She gives me her cell phone number. My lifelong dream is like happening. I did not call her for 4 years. I literally didn't call her for 4 years. And this is what happens when we don't believe we're worthy underneath everything else. We will sabotage opportunities. We will stay stuck. We will not go for things and not understand why. And after 4 years, during that whole stretch where I didn't call her, I would tell myself stories like, okay, once I have the perfect thing to say, then I'll call her. That's why I'm not calling her. I just don't have the perfect thing to say. Or she probably thinks everyone wants something from her. So I'm going to prove I don't, and I'm not going to call. Like all these stories I would tell myself. And 4 years later, I realized that the reason I hadn't called her was because deep down inside, I did not feel worthy of being her friend. And the moment I realized that, number one, like, I realized very quickly that's a lie. Like, I am a kick-ass friend. You know what I mean?
You are, girl.
And in that moment, I'm like, oh my gosh, my self-doubt and my thoughts, which we are not our thoughts, but our thoughts can convince us we are them sometimes. And my self-doubt and my thoughts had gotten so loud and were telling me I wasn't worthy of it. But that moment when I realized it, I felt in my soul, which is very different. In my soul, my knowing, like, oh, I am more than worthy of being her friend or anybody's friend. I'm a great friend, right? And that was the moment I picked up the phone and called her. I came so close to doubting myself out of my own destiny, even though I had built all these things that the world would say look like enough. So I must feel like I'm enough, right? And I still didn't. And I didn't know why. So it's a perpetual lie that we just need to keep getting enough, achieving enough, hitting enough goals to finally feel enough. All of those things are important. They all build self-confidence, which is really, really important. But nothing you can achieve will build self-worth.
I got so many questions here. Okay, where do I even start? So first of all, how did you start to identify those were excuses that you were giving yourself and that it actually came from the self-worth? Because I'm sure so many people listening right now, it may trigger some people going, oh my God, yes, I do it. But there's other people that even right now, the excuse that they're telling themselves, they actually believe. And I have utter compassion, right? It comes from I mean this in a sweet way, I guess, but like it comes from a broken place where you feel broken enough where you don't feel whole, you don't feel complete, you don't feel worthy to be able to then be a great friend. So how did you start to recognize that those were excuses? And then how did you pivot going from I'm not enough to call her to immediately, like for 4 years, and then you pick up the phone and call? What's that gap?
Yeah. So the gap is this. I just didn't know, right? And I didn't realize, oh, I'm telling myself excuses.
Exactly.
I actually believe them.
Right. That's the worst freaking excuse.
Yeah. I believed them. They're lies. I believed, just like my whole life, oh, when I achieve enough, then I'll feel enough. All of those things. And so it was a moment that hit me like a ton of bricks where I feel like, Oprah calls them aha moments. I would describe it as a moment my knowing surpassed my conditioned belief system.
Ooh,
I would define an aha moment as and we've all had them, right? The moment your knowing surpasses your conditioned belief system. And sometimes they come out of the blue and they hit us like a ton of bricks, right? And sometimes we work really, really hard to tune in and to hear our own gut and say, what is the truth, right? They can come in different forms. This was a moment that hit me like a ton of bricks. And in that moment, it took everything out of me to literally, I imagined myself in that moment, Lisa, turning down the volume as if it was a volume dial, turning down the volume on my own self-doubt and my thoughts, right? And turning up the volume on my knowing or my intuition that said, you are worthy of being her friend, because I know that's the truth. And right now, every single person listening to us, watching us right now, if you get still and you tune into that knowing, not in your thoughts in your head that our whole lives we've been conditioned to learn we're not enough, right? 80% of women do not believe they're enough right now. And it is a lie, right? But I'm not enough, that comes in the form of our belief systems and our thoughts, but that is not who you are. Every single person right now, if you get still for a moment and you tune into your gut, to your knowing, to your intuition, it'll tell you right now, oh, you are more than enough. You are fully worthy exactly as you are, like exactly as you are. And when we learn to trust that and to trust that knowing, it changes everything. So that moment when I decided to call her, it was like I literally imagined just turning down the volume on my self-doubt. I was like, I am not listening to this anymore. And just tuning into that knowing, right? And just like putting that on full blast that says, I know I'm a great friend. Like, I know I'm worthy of calling Oprah. And that's when I just picked up the phone and did it and just took that step and did not let my self-doubt doubt me out of my own destiny. And it's one step at a time. Every person right now today, we're going to do this. Like literally, we're going to do this. Like no girl, no woman, no person left behind in knowing they're worthy. Because when you believe you are worthy, the second you decide to believe you are worthy is the moment every single area of your life changes. It's the moment past and future generations of your family change. Like the second we believe we're enough is the second it changes everything. It impacts everything. Because again, we do not rise to what we believe is possible. We fall to what we believe we're worthy of.
Everything that you've just said, it may resonate for a moment, right? Yeah. Everyone listening, like inspiration, motivation, we know is beautiful. Yeah. But when that person leaves, after they finish watching this interview and they're sitting by themselves and they get that ding, they get someone telling them they're not good enough.
Yes.
How the hell do they make sure they don't stay there? That's why I like to go deep, so that they've then got these tactics to then go back to.
I love this so much. There is a masterclass in this book and a whole framework on the 4 R's where you go deep into how do you identify your current definition of rejection? How do you redefine it? How do you revisit past rejections and redefine them? How do you become fearless over rejection and failure in your life, right? Because part of my journey was hundreds and hundreds of no's and rejection over years building It Cosmetics. A lot of times when people Google the story, they're like, oh, it's a fairy tale.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, not so much, right? But a lot of us, we fear rejection and failure as something that is painful. So then we avoid doing stuff at all costs. We stay stuck. I so easily could have been in that Oprah situation, could have still not called her for 4 years, and could be sitting here with you right now thinking, oh yeah, I just got to, I'm just still not enough. I got to achieve more. I got to do more. I got to accomplish more. Then I'll call her, right? I would still be thinking I need to do all the things that build confidence or whatever, but not understanding, oh wait, it's a self-worth issue. And not understanding the difference. I want to say one thing before I forget too, is you're using this example of the train, right? And you get off or you get on and here's the thing too, is like, oh my gosh, for everyone listening, I keep like hitting your couch. I'm getting so excited. But for everyone listening and watching us right now, how many times have the train doors open and we didn't get on because we didn't feel we were worthy of it? We didn't feel we hesitated, we held back, and who freaking knows what would have happened if we stepped on because we believe we're worthy of it and the doors closed and we go to a whole new destination, right? That is why I'm so passionate about this, about building self-worth, because so many of us have doubted ourselves out of so many things in our destiny. You know, I mean, I came so close to never calling Oprah, right? And in my case, that was a lifelong dream. I was sabotaging. I would have never then taught a course with her. All the things. I would have been on a different train. I wouldn't have been on a train teaching course with Oprah, which for me means so much. So how many things for you and everybody listening means so much, but you didn't get on the train yet. And the doors are open and then they close and the train takes off. But the good news is, just like a train schedule, there's another one coming. So how do you believe you're worthy of stepping on that train when it pulls right up to you and when the doors open? Because the trains are going to keep coming. But for so many of us, it's like we still don't step on that. We still don't put our art out into the world. We still don't show up on social media as who we authentically are. We still don't tell the person we want to be more than just friends, right? We still don't register the domain for our business. We still don't set that boundary with the family member. Right? We still don't, turn the lights on in the bedroom. We still don't put the swimsuit on in summer, right? All those things. And we're missing the train. We're missing the train. And that is what self-worth will do. Time for change has come, Lisa Bilyeu. Right here, right now on Women of Impact, time for change has come. Literally, when you build your self-worth, it changes everything.
I would like to go back to when you're a Denny's waitress. You wrote a book called Worthy. Are you at Denny's feeling worthy, or what are you feeling like?
Yeah, that's the thing. I wrote worthy because, first of all, our self-worth is our ceiling, right? So many of us, we think, I just need more skill set. I need to work harder, and all those things are important, but our self-worth is our ceiling. I didn't know that for a long time. And what I know now, you want to double your business, double your self-worth. You want to double your success, double your self-worth. And for a long time, I didn't realize that, really in life, we don't necessarily rise to what we believe is possible. We fall to what we believe we're worthy of. And so when I was in my days waitressing tables at Denny's, I literally remember moments where I'd look around and think I could run this, have those kind of thoughts, but then my self-doubt would get really, really, really loud. And so, a lot of people maybe Google my story and they see Denny's waitress builds $1 billion company. But my real story is and that happened, yes. And I'm so proud of it and learned so many tactical tools and takeaways I'm so happy to share and dive into. But my real journey I'm more proud of than that is going from a girl who really didn't believe in myself most of my life to learning how to believe in myself and learning how to believe I'm worthy, of the hopes and dreams I have. And I think that's the biggest thing, for anyone listening is so important that we know what we want and why we want it and then take action and do all the things. But at the end of the day, we don't become what we want. We become what we believe we're worthy of. And that's in life, in our business, in our goals, and our dreams. So when we raise our self-worth, we change everything. Because if we don't, we literally, so many people sabotage things, stay stuck, or doubt themselves out of their own destiny because our self-doubt gets so loud. So
maybe before we go further, maybe talking about before Denny's, what was your childhood like, and maybe why did you not feel worthy?
Yeah, I think, what's wild is you look at the data right now. So as the three of us are talking, 80% of women don't believe they're enough, and 73% of men feel inadequate and not enough. And it's wild because we're so good at hiding. A lot of people are really, really good at hiding it. And it's funny, I was just talking with Ed Milet, who loves the two of you, who was so excited for me to come on the show because he loves both of you. And he was saying, right now, despite in his life having private jets, huge companies with success, all the things going on externally, which brings him a lot of confidence, he still struggles to believe he's enough. And it's sort of this lifelong journey, because when we don't underneath it all believe we're enough, we can achieve everything and build all this self-confidence, but we'll never feel fulfilled when we do it. And a lot of people think, well, if I feel like I'm enough as I am, will I lose my edge? Will I stop, will I become less ambitious? It's actually the opposite. When you feel super, super enough, strong self-worth as you are, you actually become more fearless because okay, if I fall flat on my face, if I fail, if I have setbacks, it might shake my self-confidence a little bit, which is largely based on the external, but I'm unshakable inside, and it helps you become more fearless. And so growing up, I think, what I will say, so in Worthy, there's I covered 20 different tools on how to build unshakable self-worth. And a lot of them are lies that so many of us need to unlearn. And one of the lies, which I think comes from my childhood, to answer your question, I grew up believing that achievement equaled love, or that I needed to achieve to be enough, and sort of like confusing achievement with love.
Did that come from your parents, or did that come from a teacher? Or like, where do you think that comes from?
Yeah, I think so. So two things. I think universally, so many of us are raised even just seeing like advertisements and this and that, and they're great, or well-intended people in our lives that are like, all they ask about is your job, or how's your job going? How's your work going? Are you married yet? Do you have kids? And we start to learn that if we get good answers to those things, then we've got their stamp of approval. Like, then we're enough. Then, and so that's there. And then a lot of us work so hard to finally get these big goals that we think will make us feel enough, and we arrive at them and still feel like something's missing, and still feel like, so then we just keep hustling harder, and it becomes this never-ending, perpetual thing, which is what Ed and I have both experienced for decades of our life, where we keep achieving the next level and the next level and the next level. And to give you like a real tangible example, because for everyone listening to us right now, if they're like, oh, I'm super confident, I'm super successful, I kind of feel like I'm not enough, or it's not enough, but I think I just got to work harder. It's actually a self-worth issue, because a lot of people will give up on marriages. They think something's missing in their marriage, when really they don't feel enough as who they are.
100% go off on that. I totally agree with that.
It's such a thing.
Yeah, they want someone else to fill up their cup, but what you got to realize is it's an inside job. You got to fill up your own cup.
Exactly. And so the number of marriages that end, or the number of people that think, oh, I just need to quit my job and go to another one, or this or that, I don't have the fulfillment I need. And they think that the enoughness needs to come from the outside. And that's a self-worth thing. So 3 ways, like for anyone listening, like if they are like, wait a minute, do I need worthy? Like, do I feel enough? Is this really a thing? Because I think I'm crushing it on the outside. The 3 main ways that like self-worth become big issues in our life. If we have low self-worth, and this is for everybody listening, if we have low self-worth, it often looks like we're stuck. Like, we're stuck, meaning, oh, we have a crazy, amazing business idea, or we have a book we want to write, or we have, we don't want to be alone and we want to be in a relationship, but we literally are stuck and we don't know why. We don't get on the dating app. We don't submit the manuscript or even start writing it. We don't register the domain for our business. And a lot of people think like, oh, I'm stuck because I just need to get more experience or more skill sets. It's like, no, actually, underneath it all, you don't believe you're worthy of the thing. And when you don't believe you're worthy of it, like, your self-worth will become your ceiling. And so when we have low to medium self-worth, which a lot of people do, this is me most of my life, even after selling my company for over $1 billion cash, I was very confident. I had high confidence. I was crushing it on the Forbes, all these things. I didn't know that self-confidence, which fluctuates based on external things, if we're winning or losing, our skill sets and abilities, is different than self-worth. Self-worth is like the deep internal knowing that you are enough and worthy exactly as you are. And that self-worth level is our ceiling. And so when we have low to medium self-worth, we can be, crushing it, doing all these kind of things, but we still hit ceilings and we sabotage them. We'll sabotage opportunities. We'll write the whole manuscript, but then not submit it. We'll hit 6 figures in our business, but not 7 figures, and we don't know why. We'll have, really wild ideas to put like our talent and offerings out in the world, but we'll scroll Instagram for 8 hours a day. We'll hit a ceiling and we'll sabotage. We'll meet an amazing potential partner, and then we'll be like, I don't know why, but I just am not attracted to them. And we put them in the friend zone. And it's because underneath it all, we don't believe we're worthy of the thing, so we'll sabotage it.
Do you think that this is all perpetuated from childhood? Because we've had, funny this week, we've had a lot of people come on here who are very successful that have said something that their mom or dad or teacher said to them that replays in their head. I'll give like an example. Someone came on and said that their father said, "You'll never amount to anything." Janice
Dickinson came on.
And she's in her 60s now.
Yeah.
And she still replays, "You'll never amount to anything," still to this day. Is there something that you can pinpoint when you were a little girl that was playing in your head for you to sell your company for the amount you did and still not feel worthy?
Yes. Okay. I would love if you guys have a few minutes too to actually like go through this exercise where everyone listening
Yes.
can actually do that in their head to know what it is for them. Because here's the thing, some of us have a parent that said something, or we have someone that's in the school play yard that said it. For Ed Milet, for example, I don't know why I keep bringing him up, but it's like our mutual friend. For him, it was he remembers the moment when he was like pro level in baseball and sabotaged it. Like we have these moments that become these like that take root in our identity. For a lot of people, they've had failures or rejections that instead of thinking I failed or was rejected, they let it take root and think I'm a failure, I'm a reject. We all have different moments. And while some of us, like the one you shared with Janice, we have a parental figure that said something, for most of us, it's us telling ourselves the thing and believing it. So like part of why I wrote Worthy is to unlearn all the lies that lead to self-doubt and like ignite the truths that wake up worthiness. And one example that I'll share with you, and then I'll take everyone through how to do it because they can listen to us live and be like, oh wow, this is a thing in my own life. It was after I had sold my business, my whole life. Like I sat there as a little girl watching Oprah and dreaming of one day meeting her. Like I was home alone a lot as a little girl and I would watch her interviews and I was like, oh, and that was like my mentor from afar my entire life. And, after all the years of sort of like working hard to, pay my way through school and finally get into what I thought was my dream job, which was anchoring the news. And then I took a detour and launched It Cosmetics. What a lot of people don't know is that was a wild story. It was years and years and years and years of rejections, like teetering on bankruptcy, like hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of rejections, and learning how to overcome those and not quit, and eventually turning that business into $1 billion company. And through all of that, I built a whole lot of self-confidence. I am in my 30s, about to turn 40, and I meet Oprah for the first time, which is like my lifelong dream. Then she invites me to lunch.
Did you know you were going to meet her, or was it just like a okay.
Total at an event backstage in her green room? It was a whole thing, and I thought at best it'll be like 2 seconds on a step and repeat wall, but it ended up being this sort of private one-on-one meeting. It was just a couple minutes backstage at her event, and after it, I wrote her an email. She invited me over for lunch. So I'm like, oh my gosh, this is a whole thing. So I go to her house. Now
that's a big lunch.
And for anyone, it is a big lunch. For everyone listening, like if you've ever been in a great place in your life, like you're crushing it, all these things, that was me in that moment. I didn't know there was a huge difference between being self-confident but not having self-worth. And I learned it the hard way in this moment. This is really a defining moment for me. And I think a lot of people will connect with this no matter what their circumstances are, because we've all sabotaged stuff and not known why. But I go to her house for lunch and I'm like, but I'm really confident. I'm crushing it. Like the Forbes list had just got all these things. And we have a 3-hour lunch. And at the very end of it, she hands me her cell phone number. And she's like, you can call me anytime. Call me anytime. And I left there and I did not call her for 4 years. Like literally my lifelong, didn't call her for 4 years. And in that 4-year window, I told myself stories like, oh, I just need to think of the right thing to say. Like I just got to come up with the right thing to say, then I'll call her. Or, oh, people probably want stuff from her. Like I'm going to prove I don't need anything. I'm not going to call her. I told myself all these stories. Until one day I realized, it hit me like out of the blue, like I'm not calling her because deep down inside, I don't believe I'm worthy of being her friend. And that was the day where I was like, oh, wow. And that was the moment where two things, like every one of us, our thoughts, which are in our head and tell us self-doubt all day long, are not who we are. But they're so loud. Like our thoughts are so loud. And our head is where self-doubt lives. And our soul, our knowing, our truth, whether someone believes in God and prays and hears God that way, or meditates and gets still, or believes the universe has your back, or all of those things, our soul is where we know the truth. And I remember that day, that moment of knowing that was a lie. Knowing I'm a kick-ass friend. I am a ride or die kick-ass friend. Oprah or anyone else would be so lucky to be my friend. And I know that is the truth. And in that moment, I remember imagining myself turning down the volume on my thoughts or my self-doubt and turning up the volume on that knowing that knows I am enough. And that was the day I picked up the phone and called her. And that's also the day I became obsessed with studying self-worth and understanding like, oh, wow, if just like me in that day, so many of us can have a lot of self-confidence. We could have put in the reps, like all the things. But if underneath it all, we don't believe we're enough, we will still sabotage stuff, whether it is a relationship we don't think we're worthy of, whether it is our business going to the next level, whether it's a health and fitness goal, it could, or having great friendships, it could be any of it. And so that's really for me, probably the pivotal moment on how I realized, okay, in life, we don't become what we want. We become what we believe we're worthy of.
What'd you say to Oprah when you called her?
Okay, so the first time I called, she didn't answer. I'm like, 4 years, and she didn't answer.
I'm not a big answer phoner either.
I'm not either. I'm totally not either. And then we've talked since. We ended up teaching a class this last year, and
now she's on your podcast and you're on hers.
Yeah. So
when she heard this story, did she say anything to you about it? Was she like, why didn't you call?
She understands it clear. She's so clear about it. And she, her big thing is exactly that. Like she'll say, you can work so hard. You can even believe something's possible. But if you don't believe you're worthy of it, she says it in the way of it will not come.
I want to know what's the difference from this new book and your first book, Believe It, and what made you to decide to write another book?
Yeah. So, thank you so much, by the way, for having me. I am excited for our time together. I just love you and love everything you're putting out into the world. And so I hope, actually, I don't hope, I know this episode is going to bless so many people and hopefully be exactly what someone needs to hear today. So thank you for having me. And yeah, Believe It. And thank you for those kind words. Believe It. My first book is really my story of kind of what you shared, going from Denny's waitress to billion-dollar entrepreneur and sort of like all the ups and downs. And Worthy is really the playbook on like, how do you believe in you? So Worthy is over 20 tools like that you can apply to your life right now and how to build self-worth and build belief. And it's really this idea, Hannah, like for so much of my life, I mean, because it's and maybe you and I probably share this in common, that people can Google our stories and then they can read the highlight reel and then they see all the things that people know us for. And so, in my situation, so many people think like, oh, did she just get lucky? Did it just come easy? Was it a fairy tale? She went from waitressing to, building, 1,000+ person company, all the things. And my real story is like a girl who, like most of my life, did not believe in myself and didn't believe I was enough. And through learning how to is really how I even began to believe I was worthy of building a company or putting my ideas out there in the world. And so Worthy is really for, because right now, as you and I are talking, 80% of women don't believe they're enough. 75% of female executives deal with imposter syndrome, and 91% of girls and women don't love their bodies. And so I really wrote Worthy because the time for change has come. And every person listening to us right now, when you fundamentally believe you're not enough, it is a lie. And it is time to unlearn that lie. And when you start to unlearn the lies that lead to self-doubt and then kind of ignite those truths that wake up worthiness in your life, like the moment you learn to believe you're worthy is the moment future and past generations of your family change. It's the moment where, literally every area of your life changes. So Worthy is really a book for every person who doubts they're enough. And sometimes we can be like crushing it in the world, accomplishing all this stuff. Everything can look so great, but deep down inside, we feel alone and feeling like we're not enough. And this is a book about, how to unlearn those lies, how to build unshakable self-worth. And it kind of all is based around this idea that I believe is a truth, which is that in life, like we don't, in all areas of our life, really, we don't become what we want. We become what we believe we're worthy of. And and we can have all of these goals and dreams, but we don't soar to the level of our goals and dreams. We stay stuck at the level of our self-worth. Like our self-worth is our ceiling. And so I'm so passionate. I'm donating 100% of the proceeds from the book. I'm just so passionate about it because I think, like, I'm imagining, even talking with you live right now, I'm imagining the number of, and this is for everybody, 73% of men feel inadequate and like they're not enough. But what fires me up so much is I think about every girl and woman who, when we learn to believe we're worthy, like the unhealthy relationships that will end, the ideas that will be shared with the world, like the businesses that will be launched, the bodies that will be celebrated, like for the miracle in motion that they are. Like, I am so fired up about this and so excited. So yeah, self-worth. And by the way, self-worth is very different than self-confidence. And when we learn self-worth, it's just the one thing that changes every single thing in our life. So that is why I wrote Worthy, for any person listening who has some self-doubt to destroy and a destiny to fulfill.
Which is all of us. I feel like it's so hard. Like, have you ever met anybody that hasn't had to go on a real long journey to actually feel that worth? It feels like there's so many things that happen in our life and we believe these lies over and over. I know for myself, same thing you said, like it could look like I was at the top of the mountain and there have been moments where I've been really struggling with my worth. And it's not really about those external things, that those don't give you worth or happiness if you don't have it inside yourself. And you said something, you write this in your book and you kind of mentioned it, that you write in your life, you don't soar to the level of your hopes and dreams, but you stay stuck at the level of your self-worth in your relationships, career, and ambitions. You don't rise to what you believe is possible. You fall to what you believe you're worthy of. And I was just like, oh, right to the gut. Like, that is so true. And I want to know, like, how did you come to this realization and how have you seen this play out in your own life?
Yeah, it's so funny, Hannah, that sometimes, and I love that we have different experiences, but kind of shared experiences. Sometimes it takes us accomplishing really cool stuff that the world tells us is like everything you could ever hope for, to then realize, well, wait a minute, why do I still not feel enough even after accomplishing all that? And for me, it took so many of the blessings I worked so hard to get, to realize that there's such a huge difference between things that build self-confidence, which is largely based on the external stuff, and things that actually build self-worth, which is very different. And just to kind of share this for anyone listening, maybe, because for me, most of my life, I thought that if I could just achieve enough, or just make enough people happy. And I was such a great people pleaser. If I could just, all the things, especially if I could just achieve enough, then I would finally feel enough. And for anyone listening who maybe has ever had like a goal or a dream and thought, like, once I finally get that thing, then I'll be happy. Then I'll feel fulfilled. Then I'll feel enough. And for some people, it might be something in their career, or getting a degree, or getting married, or getting 6-pack abs, or, it could be a certain number of followers in social media, or fame, or a number in their bank account, or the married and the white picket fence and 3 kids. It's different for all of us, but like for everyone listening, if you've ever had that kind of goal and maybe you worked so hard to get it and you thought, and think about something actually in your life right now, right, as we're talking, and you thought, oh, once I get that, then I'm going to feel enough, then I'll be happy, then all the things. And so for a lot of us, we work really hard to get that thing, sometimes months, years, or decades. And then we finally get it. And for everyone listening, like, imagine when that happens in your life, you finally get it. And then what happens? For a lot of us, we're happy for like a month or a few weeks or a few hours. And before we know it, we're back to feeling like something's missing, or like it's still not enough. And so then usually our solution is to work harder and to go the next thing and the next thing and all that. And going after your dreams is so important in life. And I am harder working now, Hannah, than I've ever have been. Like, I am so passionate. I'm so fired up. But what I now know is when we're going after our dreams and our goals, and then we finally get to them, that in that pursuit of them, we've built a lot of self-confidence, which is really important. We've been growing. We're often contributing to something beyond ourselves. But none of those things build self-worth. And none of the things that we want to accomplish and that we finally accomplish build self-worth. They all build a lot of confidence, but they don't build self-worth, which is why you still take you with you, whatever you accomplish. And so many of us think, and I did most of my life until literally 3 years ago, self-confidence and self-worth are very, very different. And understanding the difference, literally this one thing can change your entire life. This one thing can change your entire life, because self-confidence is, while it's an internal trait, it's based so much on the external, and it's fragile and it fluctuates. And our self-confidence is our own assessment of our skills and abilities. It's how we feel we stack up and measure compared to others. It's our willingness to try and go for it. It's how much of the world's definition of success we have. If we're winning or losing at any moment. And like studies show, like the boxer that wins the match is 30% more confident automatically. But our self-confidence is fragile and it fluctuates. Our self-worth is that deep internal knowing that we are fully worthy and enough and worthy of love and belonging exactly as we are. Not as we achieve, not as our past mistakes or failures. And it's unwavering. And the two are very different. Like, self-confidence is sort of like the house we build and of everything in our lives, but our self-worth is our foundation. Mm-hmm. And we can only ever be as strong and secure as that foundation underneath the house. And it's really the one thing that changes everything. And for people that have and struggle with self-worth, maybe who are listening now, and they're like, well, how do I know if I am struggling with it? Self-worth, when we struggle with it, usually shows up in 3 ways. And Hannah, for me, like, I was at the height of my success, having this incredible stuff happen in my life. And I was still sabotaging stuff and still didn't feel like I was enough. And it took that for me to realize, oh, wow, I've built a whole lot of confidence. I'm crushing it. All the stuff on the outside is so great. But deep down inside, I don't still feel like I'm enough. And when we have self-worth struggles, which is really why I wrote Worthy, to give tools on what to do about this. But what it looks like for everyone listening is, if we have low self-worth, often it looks like we're stuck. Like, we'll stay stuck in certain areas. So maybe like anyone who's like, oh, I really want to have a partner in my life, but you don't know why you're not getting on the dating app or why you're not going out there. Or it looks like, I have a book inside of me. I want to share my story with the world. And you don't know why you haven't written the first word yet. Or it can look like, oh, I have, fitness goals, but I'm just not ready to like start walking every day. Whatever it is, we stay stuck in different areas. We don't apply for the job that we know we want, or we don't register the domain for our business idea. Like, we stay stuck and we tell ourselves stories like, oh, once I get more experience, then or once I get more skills. And really the underlying reason is we don't believe we're worthy of that thing. And so we stay stuck and then think it's other things. So that's one way. If you have low to medium self-worth, what that looks like is you'll go for the thing, like you'll go after it, but then you might sabotage it along the way. So you might start, you might put yourself out there in the dating world, and then you meet like a really great guy and you decide to put him in the friend zone, and you decide you're not attracted to him and you don't know why. And you think it's because, oh, I want someone more edgy, more bad boy. But then deep down inside, we actually just don't, we are attracted to what we're familiar with. We're attracted to a reflection of how we feel we're our own worth. Like, the amount and depth of love we love ourselves is the limit of what we'll be attracted to, and the amount of depth of love in someone else. So we'll go for things, but we'll sabotage them. We'll build our business or ideas to a certain level, And then we won't know why we hit a ceiling, because our self-worth is our ceiling in every area of life. And then if you're someone that has like medium to high self-worth, but it's still a challenge for you, what that looks like is you'll go after the thing, you'll accomplish it, you'll achieve it, you'll get the thing. But then when you arrive at it, you still feel like it's not enough, and you still feel like you're not enough. So that's really the three main ways that it shows up. And the thing I want to say too, Hannah, is like building self-worth and learning to believe you're enough exactly as you are. It doesn't curb your ambition or any of that. It just makes you like actually more ambitious, because you're not worried about, oh, if I fall flat on my face, if I embarrass myself, like, okay, it might shake my confidence a little bit, but it cannot touch my self-worth. So building that strong sense of self-worth, it impacts every area of our life, and it allows us to get the things we want so badly and actually be happy and fulfilled and feel enough when we accomplish them. So it's really just that one thing that changes everything.
I'm asking you this. I'm just curious. How about right now? Like, you sit in front of me, you've had all these accomplishments. Do you still have any struggles with this stuff, like to this day? Because stuff I teach people how to get better at, most of the time it's still stuff that I'm working on myself and I struggle. So does Jamie Kern Lima still struggle to this day with her worthiness?
Every single day, and a little less every single day. I think it's a lifelong journey. And here's a huge breakthrough that I'm going to share. First on your show. I've never spoken about this before, but it is powerful. It's changed my life. Is there is a massive difference between self-confidence and self-worth.
What's the difference? Okay,
so here's the thing. And y'all, when I had this breakthrough and really started doing the work here, it changed everything in my life. So self-confidence, right? It's deeply internal, of course. It's a trait, but it is most closely linked with external things. So, the willingness to try, the confidence to try, the willingness to go for it, how you assess things on the outside, meaning how you assess your strengths, your skills, how you compare to others, right? Your self-confidence you build, and it's super, super important, but it is most closely linked to things that can fluctuate, that aren't always in your control, right? Like there's the boxer story about how, the boxer that wins is automatically 20% more, a better boxer because all of a sudden they believe they are, right? But all of a sudden if that guy loses or that woman loses, 3 or 4 times in a row, their self-confidence can fluctuate. And your self-worth is deeply internal. It's believing you are enough exactly as you are. You are enough. You are valuable. You're worthy exactly as you are. It's deeply internal, and it doesn't fluctuate based on external things. Now, here's the big breakthrough. You can be, so for anyone listening right, I'm gonna get fired up. I'm gonna jump out of the seat. Jump out of the seat. For anyone listening right now, if you are someone who is like, okay, when this thing finally happens, then I'm gonna be enough. When I finally get married or have the kids, or I finally hit 7 figures in my business, or 8 figures, or 9 figures, or 10 figures, when I finally get my 6-pack, when I finally, right? And then you get that thing, and it's like, okay, it's great for a minute.
Yes.
But it's never quite enough.
Yes.
It's because you have built confidence. You have built confidence in that journey. Now you have confidence in your body and your 6-pack. Now you have confidence in your business, but your self-worth has not changed. And there are so many people, and this is me most of my entire life, where I thought if I achieve enough, I'll finally feel enough. Yeah. If I accomplish this thing, if I build $1 billion business, if I feel confident in a swimsuit, whatever it is, then I'll finally feel enough. But you can have all the confidence in the world, and you will not be fulfilled if you do not have strong self-worth. And that is huge because...
Wow. Yeah. Wow. Can I just say something? Wow. You just described me. Yeah. Like even now.
Yeah.
That is awesome what you just flipping said right there. Holy smokes. Because you and I talk all the time. You've never said that to me before. Whoa. So sorry, you guys. So I just want to say this to you. I have really built a lot of self-confidence, but I don't know that I built that much self-worth. And so it is why I haven't enjoyed a lot of the successes that I've had. And to the extent that I have, and you too.
Yeah.
Man, you are on there. Do you think the self-worth thing for most people is not all of it, but do you think a lot of it is shaped in childhood from experiences? Because I know being raised by an alcoholic, it's pretty hard to have a lot of self-worth, right? Because I don't think my dad had self-worth. And I think, I don't want to assume everybody knows this. Tell them a little bit about your childhood. And do you think a lot of this is shaped self-worth early in our lives? I know there could be an event later where you're like, I just lost all my self-worth. He left me, or I went bankrupt, or she cheated on me, or whatever it might be. But I do think a lot of it can come from childhood.
It can. It's also, though, reinforced our whole life. We're in a culture that rewards when you do things that get external applause. They're almost always tied to confidence or productivity or things that are external. And we grow up believing that if we do those things, we'll be happy. Every single, commercial or ad or most companies are based on you achieving an emotion if you get this thing, but it's almost always external. And then we're raised by families often, whether they're well-intended, healthy or not, we've never learned this. We've never learned this.
Where did you get this distinction from?
Huge breakthrough, actually, over a really mortifying, embarrassing story I've never shared before, that has to do with Oprah. And by the way, Ed, I want to say this is something I believe affects everybody. I think that, if you really, I don't want to get too granular here because we'll be on for hours, but you think about, look at our country, life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. It's something that we have to pursue. It's not like, we shouldn't innately be happy, right? There's so many things all around us. I don't want to get started. I didn't come here to look cute today. Let's go. I'm like fired up. But here's the thing. There's so many things all around us that tell us if we finally get the thing, if we finally are, whatever, then we'll be happy. And I believe a couple things. I believe you need both self-worth and self-confidence, right? Just because you have self-worth and believe you're enough as you are doesn't mean you're now complacent and you're like just chilling, because that's not a recipe for fulfillment either. But if you do not have self-worth, you will never be truly fulfilled, no matter how much you accomplish. So you need both, right? So you need both of those things. And this is why I wrote Worthy, and it's why it's such a breakthrough, because for anyone out there who does not feel like they're enough, and maybe you're really good at hiding it because you are crushing it in every area of your life, or you're just really good at being the strong one, or whatever it might be. But I believe that deep lack of internal worthiness is why nothing ever feels enough. It's why we don't feel enough. It's why we finally get that big thing and then we're not happy or fulfilled. Or it's why we sabotage things in our life because we don't believe we're worthy of them. And so how this happened for me is, my whole life, I grew up watching Oprah in my living room. And that was sort of like, my whole life, I thought one day, I am going to interview other people and share their stories with the world. And I just always knew. And I had this knowing that made no sense, but I just knew I would meet her. I just knew it. And I was like this little girl in a suburb in Washington State.
Like everybody else was, right?
Yeah, like exactly. And when I eventually went, it's a long story that I'll cut because I want to get to the point of it. But I eventually met her at one of her live events backstage. And after meeting her, I wrote her a very long email. And through sheer grace, it got forwarded and she eventually got it. And long story short, she invited me to lunch at her house. So this is, I'm cutting through a lot of how this happened. But I had lunch with Oprah at her home.
Look how you just said that. I had lunch with Oprah. Did you hear though? She just said, just so you know, this little girl who's adopted, who's watching her on television, ends up, you just knew. But now I'm invited. I mean, put yourself in this position, everybody. Whoever your hero is, and that Oprah was your hero for the most part, right? Yeah. Your hero is now inviting you to lunch because that part of it matters because of the rest of the story, what happens afterwards. So now you're going to go see Oprah. Go ahead. Yes, I know you're one of the few people on the planet that knows the story. So I'm going to share it for the first time. And honestly, it's embarrassing, but sometimes the biggest struggles or setbacks or mortifying moments or pain we go through is like not a setback. It's really a setup for what we're supposed to do. And and this certainly was for me. So I end up going to Oprah's house, literally shaking in my boots. But also, I was in this moment in my life. This was about 5 or 6 years ago. Super confident. I was so confident. I had just, my company was exploding and I was so proud of, impacting millions and millions of women and trying to change the definition of beauty in the industry and all these things. And I was really self-confident.
And also, of course, crazy nervous to meet her and really actually sit down. And we had lunch for several hours, just me and her. And at the very end of lunch at her house, she wrote down her cell number. She gave me her cell phone number and said, call me anytime, just like that. And I left and I did not call her for 4 years.
Oh my gosh.
I didn't call her for 4 years. And when we talk about sabotaging something, right? Yeah. And anyone out there who has done this in some area of their life, in a relationship, a friendship, a career move, whatever it might be, this was like, for me, the person that, my whole life, and now I have her cell phone number. Right. For 4 years, I would tell myself things like, oh, you know what? Like, I don't have the right thing to say yet, but when I get the right thing, then I'm going to call her. Or, oh, everyone always wants something from her, right? I'd make up this story. I'd tell myself, everyone always wants things from her. I want to make sure she knows I don't want things from her. I'm here for real, true friendship, so I'm not going to bug her. Or I would always tell myself these versions of why I wasn't calling her. And 4 years went by.
It's incredible.
And I had this huge epiphany. I was like, oh, I'm not calling Oprah because deep down inside, I don't think I'm worthy of being her friend.
In spite of all your success.
Yep. So at that moment, I realized this was a huge breakthrough because I realized, oh, I have a lot of self-confidence, but not self-worth.
Gosh, Jamie.
And you can have one without the other. And it's why when you keep accomplishing things or you keep, the thing finally happens, you finally, get that dream relationship, you finally have the kids or you finally have the breakthrough in your business, but you're like, why am I not happy? Why am I not fulfilled? Why isn't it not enough? Huge breakthrough for me. And when I realized it, A, I was super embarrassed, but B, I realized that is my head, my own self-doubt, my own lack of self-worth telling me these things. But in my soul, I know I am definitely worthy of being her friend because I'm a kick-ass friend. Like I'm a ride.
You're an unbelievable friend.
I'm like, I am a ride or die friend. Like so I'm like, I know in my soul I'm worthy of being her friend. And that was the moment I decided to call her.
It's unreal.
Yeah.
I have to ask you a few things that come through my mind. A lot of questions. And we don't have you for a long period of time. So the first question I had to ask off the back of that story was, you talk about the authenticity piece, and I know, obviously, like it's clear, like a strong way that you grew It Cosmetics was through you, your personal brand, and really being a spokesperson and the face of the brand. What would you say to founders that perhaps don't want to be the face of the brand, or perhaps are worried around kind of, even if their face is too strong, they might not be able to sell that company, and then you had an incredible exit. Like what's your take there?
By the way, no one has ever asked me that question. And that is such a brilliant question because it is so important. I knew exactly what you're saying, Nathan, that like if we were too heavily key person dependent, right, we would never be able to be acquired or really truly have something that was sellable or even scalable in a lot of ways. And so two things. The first part of that question, I think it's perfectly fine if you're a founder and you want nothing to do with being the face of the brand. I think it's perfectly fine to find someone who can be, if you need that as part of your company. And how you do that. So I did that in my own company, and I did it very differently actually than most people do. So I'll share that piece in a moment. If you're like a founder that's like, how do I find, someone who's the perfect face for the brand? But I do think you can do it that way. Find someone else and have it be fully authentic and have it be really powerful. You can find more than one person also. I knew early on, and this is a big blind spot for so many founders, which I'm fired up that you asked that question and realizing no one's ever asked that question. This is such a big blind spot for founders because they don't realize their business is them, which is not a business. That's, you know what I mean? But yet they're burnt out. A lot of times when your business is all you're burnt out, all of the things, right? And so, and when you're having great success, especially, success masks a whole lot of problems and a whole lot of inefficiencies, right? And key person dependency is one of those. And so early on, there were a couple things that we did, and one of them was realize really quickly, like, oh, you know, because after the moment we just talked about, when we had the big sellout of everything and all the stuff, you know, that one airing turned into 5 that year, 101 the next year, and eventually 250 live shows a year. There's only 365 days a year. That's a whole lot of time. And what was tricky was, and I was so burnt out, by the way, doing 100-hour weeks, plus like trying to do everything else, right? So we were scaling, and even though we were hiring rapidly, we were trying to, you know, preserve our culture. As we were hiring, I was still trying to myself sign off on every element of copy, write every story, every product name, you know, all the stuff, like a billion moving parts, not to mention all the other departments we were building out. So that's all going on. I was burnt out for a number of years, yet what was happening was QVC, who was our biggest channel for a long time, you know, they have a history of where when the founder steps off there and someone else goes on, that other person doesn't hit numbers. And all of a sudden the brand starts going down. So they did not want me to have anyone else go on. So there was this big pressure for a long time where we were dependent on them, right? So we had a business for a few years that was key person dependent on me going on air all the time, but then it was key channel dependent on QVC. So it was a double negative in terms of a healthy business. And so the good thing is, you know, we identified that really early, and you know, after, you know, and it wasn't for lack of trying, everyone else just said no forever, but eventually all of our success on QVC, other channels started wanting us, all of the department stores, all the beauty retailers. I did an infomercial that aired in the United States, and it was on while I was sleeping. So I was like, okay, we're selling product while I'm sleeping. This is great. So we had all these moving parts, but we still had the problem that it was key person dependent on me. So what I did, which was, I think, very different than what most people would do, because I've seen a lot of other founders in like especially on QVC, they'll hire someone to take over their role, but they'll hire someone that is like a master at sales, or they poach them from another company because they're a superstar there, or whatever it might be. With that idea that you cannot fake authenticity and that customers are smart, I did it totally different. I took 3 people inside my organization who their lives were authentically changed by the product, like full evangelists, but they'll tell their neighbor at the coffee shop, but their lives were authentically changed by the product. I took 3 people internally, and I taught those people who had the authenticity piece, I taught them the TV and the sales piece. And it took a number of years. They started traveling to all my shows. We were on in Canada as well on the shopping channel there, and they would go to my US shows. And for 3 years, they shadowed me at every show as I taught them all of it, started putting them on air in Canada, where the sales goals were lower. Like, you wouldn't get kicked off right away. If you missed in the US, you get kicked off right away. And then eventually those 3 women took over the entire QVC business for me. And I had my head of marketing doing press for the brand instead of me for a while. And basically I did everything I could. This is the big takeaway for every founder. This intuitively feels scary, but when you can figure out how to replace yourself in every part of what you do the best you can, that's the healthiest your business will be. That's the most sellable your business will be. And you have to take your ego out of it. A lot of people are like, I am not replaceable, which is true for every founder. You really can't fully replace you. But the more you can show that there is no key person dependency, because here's the thing, Nathan, we met with L'Oreal for 3 years and they said no. We met with other people and they thought our business was too key person dependent. A lot of times that's the reason you won't ever be able to get past, to get to the exit. And so we were able to solve that and able to show that the best we could I had become as irrelevant as possible to the business, and that we had something that was scalable. So.
Yeah, wow, that was awesome. Really, really incredible insight. So look, as I said, Jamie, this has been an incredible interview. I'm conscious of your time.
Ladies and gentlemen, rock this house and welcome to the stage, Jamie Kern Lima! Jamie Kern Lima!
Every single one of us has had someone tell us we're not enough. Every single one of us has had someone say words to us that hurt.